Are you considering making a risky financial decision, such as investing in cryptocurrency? Stay tuned for a reading that can give you some insight on how it will go, as well as some advice about whether tarot readers should answer financial questions. Hi, everybody. I'm Sue Ellen Clayton. Welcome to my channel where we're learning how to read tarot one card at a time. In today's reading, we'll be using a 3-card spread to answer a question about cryptocurrency trading. I will be using the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot, and there is a link below. This question was posted anonymously online by someone who I will assume is a woman. Her question was, quote, "What happens if I start crypto trading? My concern is that I will have many worries or just quit," unquote. The querent did not mention using a spread. However, I will be using a 3-card spread to look at her emotional response. Card number 1 looks at how the querent will feel initially when she invests in cryptocurrency. She drew the 4 of Wands. Card number 2 looks at how the querent will feel after her first trade. She drew the 9 of Wands. Card number 3 looks at the querent's long-term emotional outlook. She drew the 6 of Swords. First, let me explain what cryptocurrency means if you're not familiar with the term, although you may have heard of Bitcoin. I'll be quoting from an article from NerdWallet, and you can find a link in the description. Quote, "Cryptocurrency, or crypto, is a digital currency, such as Bitcoin, that is used as an alternative payment method or speculative investment. Cryptocurrencies get their name from the cryptographic techniques that let people spend them securely without the need for a central government or bank. Cryptocurrencies are supported by a technology known as blockchain, which maintains a tamper-resistant record of transactions and keeps track of who owns what. Individual units of cryptocurrencies can be referred to as coins or tokens, depending on how they are used. Some are intended to be units of exchange for goods and services, others are stores of value, and some can be used to participate in specific software programs, such as games and financial products," unquote. So that's what the querent is investing in. I was trying to determine how risky cryptocurrencies are, and I have to admit that I know nothing about them. My research indicates that it seems highly risky and ever-evolving, so I think the average investor needs to be very cautious. From the question, it sounds like the querent is not a very sophisticated investor, so I think her level of worry is warranted. The second comment I wanted to make is about giving financial advice. As tarot readers, we get to decide what subjects we will or won't read on. You do you, but there's no way I would give specific advice on whether someone should invest in anything specific, including cryptocurrency or anything else. And I'm not sure it would be legal or ethical to give financial advice. If a client asked me for specific financial advice, I would decline and tell them to consult a financial advisor. However, this question is a little different because it's about the querent's emotions and fears around crypto trading. They're not asking how much they should invest or what the payoff would be, so I feel like this question is fair game. I think it falls in the same category as medical advice. Let's say a client came to you with cancer and wanted to know whether they should opt for chemotherapy. To me, that's the domain of a medical professional, not a tarot reader, and I would direct my client to their medical team for answers. However, I would be comfortable answering a question such as, what are the best ways for me to effectively communicate my needs to my medical team? And that's similar to the one that this woman is asking about in cryptocurrencies. Okay, back to the card. Let's begin with my first impressions. If we look at this in terms of progression, it looks like the trading starts off well. Then the querent feels imprisoned and beat up, and the spread ends with her moving on. So I actually think that her assessment is totally correct. She will have many worries, and she will quit. It's also interesting that all of the cards have vertical bars that make the people look like they are in prison. Finally, the first 2 cards are stage cards. In tarot, stage cards can indicate a difference between how you feel and how you are presenting yourself. So at some point, I think that the querent is acting and trying to behave the way that other people want her to, versus looking inward and being authentic about what's going on. Now let's look at each card individually. Card number 1 looks at how the querent will feel initially if she starts trading with cryptocurrency. she drew the Four of Wands. In the Four of Wands, we see people in rejoicing mode. The community is coming together to celebrate. I usually think of this card representing a wedding, but it could be any kind of achievement, including making an investment in cryptocurrency. In this case, I think the querent initially feels very excited about the idea of this investment, and she feels like she is part of a very joyous, celebratory community. She feels like this is something worth celebrating. She also believes it is a safe investment, as indicated by the large castle in the background that represents security. Fours are all about stability. Think about how four legs on a table make it stable, and we can see a stable structure in the foreground that is covered with fruits and blossoms on a grapevine. This shows abundance and a plentiful harvest. Everything at this time points her to getting her money back, and then some. As I mentioned earlier, this is a stage card. So while I think externally the querent was happy about the idea of investing, I think there was a niggling internal part of her that doesn't think she's made the right decision and is just acting happy. I also think that she felt pressured. The wands represent the element of fire, which is about taking swift action. And I believe there's another person who we can see celebrating with her on stage that is encouraging her to make this investment without giving her enough time to think about it. This makes me think about the sales events that I attended as a business owner that were very high pressure. Most of them were events where there was enormous pressure to work with an expensive coach who cost more than you could afford. You'd be in a group situation and they'd bring successful students up to the stage to describe why this investment was their best decision ever, without mentioning that the majority of the students made no money. They'd also tell you how much money you'd make back if you signed up for the coaching, so it was framed as an investment and not as an expense. And there was definitely a feeling of community and excitement to be part of the group. There's always some kind of an excellent short-term deal called a fast action bonus if you sign up in the next 60 minutes, and a huge celebration as people take these life-changing actions. Because we all know that you have to take risks in life in order to get things, right? As an aside, I've only taken the bait twice. Once was for a software program to help grow my business online, which was complicated as anything and absolute overkill for what I needed in my one-person business. The other was for a coaching program. I declined the $1,500 a month program and they sold me the $250 scaled down version for a year. Even that was an incredible waste of money, and throughout the next 12 months, as I made each payment, I regretted my decision and felt pretty much like the person in the next card. So I think the querent initially feels euphoric about the idea of crypto, although there's part of her that feels pressured and less certain about the decision. Card number 2 looks at how the querent will feel after her first trade. She drew the Nine of Wands. This is very different from the jubilance we saw in the Four of Wands. We don't see the querent as part of a happy couple in flashing clothing, surrounded by a group of dancers with a castle in the background representing security. It's pretty much the opposite. The green hills do represent health, vitality, and hope. The cloudless blue skies shows clarity of thought, but it's not reachable as the wands form a barrier between the starkness of the stage and the beauty behind her. She is alone and separate from the other people. It looks like the community from the first card didn't pan out as she thought. Also gone are the beautiful clothing and decorations, so she hasn't made the money she thought she would. Now she's dressed in modest, practical clothing and feels like she's been beaten up. The head bandage indicates that she is also feeling spiritually defeated or has some kind of a psychic wound. There are a couple of ways to interpret the Nine of Wands. The first is that the woman has experienced a setback. However, she's tough and is going to continue to fight despite losing her friends and getting beat up in the process, because it's possible that things will turn around in the future. She's proud of herself for taking a risk and sticking to her crypto investment, even when things aren't going well. She might even view this as a test of faith. Back to my example of expensive coaching. I've actually seen many people do this. They aren't successful in the first year, but they've paid all of this money. The coach blames them for their failure because they didn't follow directions or work hard enough or invest enough in their business. Rather than cutting their losses, the poor business owner signs up again and again and again. The second interpretation is that the woman is exhausted, and despite doing everything possible to hold herself together, she's reached the point where she is too tired to fight further. She's pausing and deciding what to do next. Given that the next card shows her moving away, I believe that the woman has realized that cryptocurrency isn't her thing. She's physically, emotionally, and spiritually exhausted, and she's ready to quit. You've made it this far in the video, and I wanted to stop and ask a favor if you're not already a subscriber, and that is to please hit the subscribe button. It's free for you, and it will also help me to grow this channel. Plus, it means that you won't miss anything. Thanks so much, and if you're already a subscriber, I truly appreciate your ongoing support. Now let's get back to the video. Card number 3 looks at the querent's long-term emotional outlook. She drew the Six of Swords. When there are multiple people in a card, I always want to figure out which one represents the querent. Is she the ferryman steering the boat, the shrouded figure, or the child? If I wasn't sure intuitively, which was the case here, I used my pendulum, and you can see a figure on the screen. It is a weighted object to which you can ask yes/no questions. You can look at each person on the card and ask, does this represent the querent? And you'll get one of 3 answers: yes, no, or I don't know. I have a whole video on how to use a pendulum, which I'll link to below. I determined that the querent was represented by the ferryman. He is the person steering the boat and doing all the work. The ferryman is steering with a black pole, which represents the unknown. The others in the boat made me guess that the querent is financially responsible for other people in her life, which might explain her interest in cryptocurrency because she needed some more money. My guess is that the querent is in a relationship and the couple has a child, both of whom are sitting at the front of the boat. They are passively going along with the woman's decision to move on. The boat is called a punt. These are flat-bottom boats with a square-cut bow designed for use in small rivers and shallow water. The boat represents our journey through life. It's interesting to note that a punt was the kind of boat used to carry souls across the river Styx to the afterlife. These are all minor arcana cards. In the grand scheme of things, the investment in cryptocurrency is not a huge deal and just one of those things that happens along life's journeys. All 3 figures have their backs to us, which indicates that they are leaving the past behind. The sky is gray. It is the color of uncertainty, thought, and contemplation. This is not a sunny sky, so we know that they will be carrying some pain into the future. I'm assuming, given the subject of the reading, that this refers to financial losses. The right side of the water is choppy, which indicates unsettled emotions. I believe things went badly for the crypto investment. Now they are leaving difficult times behind them, which I believe means that the cryptocurrency adventure is over. We can see that the water on the left is calm, which is the direction they are moving toward, so the future will be more peaceful. This is also confirmed by the trees across the river, which symbolize healing, growth, and renewal. In summary, the querent had emotional issues to deal with after deciding the cryptocurrency stuff was not going to work out. She went through some painful times, but she took charge and decided to move on. Her long-term outlook is positive. Let's summarize. This reading answered a woman's question about what would happen if she started trading cryptocurrency. Her concerns were that she would have a lot of worries or quit. Well, apparently the querent did not need a tarot reader because that's exactly what the cards indicated. Card number 1, the Four of Wands, looks at how the querent will feel initially if she starts trading with cryptocurrency, and that is joyful, celebratory, and supported by her community. However, I think that she also felt pressured and a bit uncertain. The stage indicates that her euphoria might have partially been an act. Card number 2, the Nine of Wands, looks at how the querent will feel after her first trade, and that is financially insecure and overall pretty beat up by the experience. In this case, the stage card indicates that she feels alone and separated from the group. Just as she thought would happen, she's had a lot of worries. Card number 3, the Six of Swords, looks at the querent's long-term emotional outlook. The querent has chosen to move on from cryptocurrency trading. She will experience some tough times, but she'll make it through, and her long-term emotional outlook is positive. I hope that this video will help you with your tarot readings. Please leave a comment if you'd like to share what you learned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.